Do Bible scholars have to conform to certain ideas or risk being fired? No, that's complete and utter nonsense. So, a claim that some atheist apologists make is that if you want to be a Bible scholar and teach at a university, you have to sign a pledge that you'll teach certain things. And that only shows that they have no idea what they're talking about. Now, I know someone's going to come back with, actually, this one professor, it doesn't matter. That's something that's rare and doesn't usually happen. Now, sure, there are some people who will be fired for having a view that goes against the status quo, but where does that actually happen? Well, in evangelical and fundamentalist schools, not in the vast majority of schools, though. And let's be clear, that's really a phenomenon that happens in the United States. Once you go outside of the United States, that's not a problem at all. But we have to ask ourselves, why would atheists actually make this up? Well, it's because they want to argue that the only reason that we have this consensus that we do is because everyone's too afraid to speak out about it. Basically, it's conspiracy theory logic. It's this idea that only they are willing to tell you the truth because everyone else is trying to hide it so that they don't get in trouble. And as with many conspiracy theories, the fact is the ideas that they're pushing simply aren't really well grounded. They're not well researched, and they don't have the backing that they need in order to be accepted by most scholars. Here's the thing though, sometimes we do have scholars that publish views that are against the status quo, and they do it without fearing that they will be fired. Now, a good example of this is that in the last few years, we've had 3 or 4 books that have been published that try to claim that the New Testament, the books within the New Testament, were all written in the 2nd century. Now, this is a view that most scholars reject, but those authors are still working within the field. So how do other scholars react to this? Now, in this case, it really led to a dead end. Looking at the case for the New Testament being written in the 2nd century, there just wasn't a lot of evidence. The scholars who reviewed those books and offered critiques really just showcased how those arguments weren't very sound, and that's probably going to be it. That entire idea will just fizzle out. Well, that is, unless these authors come back with more evidence, but until then, there really isn't going to be a lot of conversation about this, because there's really no reason to reject the consensus unless someone can show that there is a good reason for that. And there simply isn't right now. But anyways, the idea that scholars have to conform to certain ideas in order to have work simply is unfounded and is just nonsense.